So here we are. It's only the beginning of May, but already we're hearing that, July 1st, moving day, looks like it's going to be as bad or worse this year than in previous years, at least according to numbers, not from what the provincial government says. So I wanted to get into the story. So July 1st, rapidly approaching. You may remember not that long ago, right? We found out that the Housing Tribunal said the average rent increase this year, average, would be okay, just over 6%. And I say average because we know, and I've heard anecdotally from some people saying, I'm living in a place, my landlord came back, he's looking for 10, 10.1, 10.4%. And that is causing a huge problem right now for a lot of people. And that's what we're finding out from the folks over at FRAPRU, who represent, of course, all kinds of folks looking for help at this time of year, getting ready for moving day. Catherine Lussier is a human rights activist and community organizer at FRAPRU, and she's on the line. Catherine, thanks for being here this afternoon. Look,
a pleasure.
It would seem pretty obvious that the big reason, I guess, for more people now concerned about where they're going to go July 1st is just that rent increase. Is that accurate?
Obviously, the rent increase play a role because a lot of tenants have mentioned to us that the rent increase that they're receiving or, making them really getting at the maximum of what they can pay for a rent. So if they try to move or try to find another place, nothing is more affordable that much right now. So it's worrying for a lot of tenants that cannot necessarily move or cannot really stay. What is the solution at this point?
Yeah, well, my question is first of all, with respect to that 6%, whatever it was, 6.3, 6.4%, the average, right, that was allowed by the Housing Tribunal, that's higher than it's been in years past. So what do you tell people who are faced with this year?
That obviously, as the FRAPRU, we try to push the government to have more social housing. I know it's not necessarily a solution in a short-term period of time, but we try still that people can have access as much as possible to social housing that are already there. Obviously, we always mention to tenants to really consider before they cancel their lease to be sure that either they have another place or they can be sure that is really the only solution that they have at the moment if they cannot stay a little bit more. But obviously, it's really difficult, a situation where a tenant cannot pay the rent increase and then cannot necessarily pay what is on the market right now.
So can I ask, because when I heard the story, and I want to clarify, you are seeing more people already this early who are going to be in trouble. Is that accurate?
I could not say that we're seeing more people, but we have already many people and a lot of people that have contacted us that are worried to not find a place to stay around July already, yeah.
So then I hear the housing minister today, and I thought, wait a sec, someone's missing the point here. Maybe I'm crazy. France-Hélène Duranceau, who says the reason there are more people going to the municipal and provincial government now for help is because the government is doing a better job of promoting its services, which seems to me to ignore the main point. So what's this about?
The provincial government, after pushing, has supported the municipality to put in place some services. Those services are temporary, so they're not fixing the problem for tenants that already pay too much for their rent or cannot afford the rent increase. So obviously for us, it's not the reason because they're more promoted. Definitely they needed to be more promoted to be sure that no tenants falls in the crack and end up in homelessness. And so those services will include accommodation, temporary accommodation, and sometimes help for storage. So those are more than ever necessary around the 1st of July and even all year long. But tenants were already in those situations. We've been asking for these types of help for tenants, and they were actually difficult to put in place in many municipalities. So yeah, it's definitely not the reason why tenants are reaching towards the Quebec government. We need them to act to prevent the situation we are in.
Seems like an easy way out for the government, for a minister to say that. It kind of amazed me that someone would suggest, well, it's getting worse, but though it's only because more people know that there's a number they can call. They can call 311 and deal with this. That's not a solution, though, as you just said. Well, what's the main thing you hear from people contacting you at FRAPRU?
That at the moment, we're seeing a lot of people that are anxious, worried, and they're putting a lot of strain on their mental health because they know in which situation they are. They are in the situation of they'll try to look, but if you have any type of discrimination possible, like you have a bad credit, your family, it's super hard to even receive an answer from landlord. So this situation put a lot of pressure on tenants that are looking for a place to stay, and we can feel really that it is taking a lot of stake for their mental health. A lot of them are really either depressed sometimes because they know in what situation they are and they're looking for help. And obviously, we don't see the Quebec government acting to prevent those situations and to offer really structural measures.
Can I ask then, for someone who's listening, maybe finding themselves or someone they know in a situation like this, lease coming up, can't afford what they're being asked for from a landlord, what's the advice here to someone like that beyond try to act as quickly as you can?
Yeah, obviously. The first thing we could check is to be sure that they receive any of the governmental help that exists, even if it's just a little bit. But the programme Allocation Logement sometimes can support if you don't receive it already. Also, if the person is in a situation where they think they're not going to have an apartment for the 1st of July or at the moment they need to move, to contact the services that is near their region. So if they have any question, you can contact FRAPRU. We will give them the numbers of the resources so they can at least have this support if the person thinks that they're not going to find something at the moment they're going to move.
Do you think it's going to be worse this year? I mean, rent increases aside, because rents keep going up. Are you hearing there are more places that will be available, won't be available? What are you expecting?
It's hard at this point to say that it's going to be necessarily worse than last year. We've seen in many regions that the services are needed, and we can see more tenants asking for help. But obviously, the situation is getting worse in general. So we could expect that the situation may be worse this year. So more tenants will go towards those services. But obviously, with the vacancy rate, or with the absence of having enough stock and the absence of having affordable housing, the situation, it will be difficult for a lot of tenants that might stay in temporary accommodation for a few months.
By the way, is the first step, regardless, to if you find yourself in this situation, just to call 311? Is that your first move?
If you're in the region of Montreal, yes, you can call the 311 and you will receive the help that you need. If you're in another region, you can contact FRAPRU and we will redirect you towards the service of your region. All
right, Catherine, I thank you for the time. Merci beaucoup.
Always a pleasure.
Okay, there you go. So, yeah, expecting it'll be at least as bad as last year or worse. But as I said, the problem would seem to me, to some degree, is when the Housing Tribunal said, 6%, that's, average rent increase. And as I said, we're hearing from people now where landlords are asking for 10%, 10.5%. So let's hope something gets done here, because come July 1st, if the situation's worse than it was last year, and you may remember how bad that was, it's going to be very, very tough for a lot of people. Again, for those people in Montreal, first call 311. And as she said, if you're outside the city of Montreal, get in contact with FRAPRU so they can tell you where you happen to live, who to talk to in that particular area that you live in.